This is the North End. This is the North End.
Hey everyone, my name's Aizaz. I'm coming at you from Toronto with the 5 things we learned about Liverpool from the Liverpool versus Arsenal game. Now, firstly, I just want to say I'm floating still. And I feel like with this being the first one, I'm not really sure how much we can say we learned yesterday, but because this is my first one, I probably get to say some Captain Obvious things. So here we go, jumping right into it. Number 1, and what's this? Point number 1 of what we learned yesterday is that it is now 1 point. Why that's important is because on January the 15th of this year, the points gap between Manchester City and Liverpool was 14 points. 14 points. That's a 5-game swing. And here we are. Yesterday was March the 16th, 2022. Almost forgot the year there in my euphoria. And it's now 1 point. So that's huge. That's clearly a complete shift in momentum. Here's the thing. I don't know if the neutrals or the bookies would still have us as the favourites, because right as it stands at the moment, we still have to go to the Etihad and win. And while that's a thing, I'm not really sure you can call Liverpool or the team that's chasing the favourites when they have to go to the home of the team in front who have got the point lead and have to win. If there's one team that can right now go to the Etihad and win, and maybe even win comfortably, it is Liverpool, but that doesn't mean we will. And obviously, that day, there's going to be so much motivation and so much on the line that Manchester City are not going to be an easy ride. There's another couple of factors as well, like let's see who we both draw in the Champions League, because those games fall either side of that big showdown on April the 10th. However, you know what? We don't need to get too much into it. It's the day before, the night before, that was euphoric for us. A great win at the Emirates. So point number 1 is now we have learned that the title race is only 1 point. And that takes me to point number 2. The title race is alive. The title race is alive. We have not had a title race for 3 years. 3 years ago, we had the epic duel of Manchester City and Liverpool winning every game all the way till the last game of the season. And then in 2020, Liverpool ran away with it. In 2021, Manchester City ran away with it. And here we are 3 years later, and we have a title race. Now, for the neutral, you have to be here for that. You have to enjoy that. You know, Manchester City have their haters because of, obviously, the way they were taken over and the money that flows through that club. Liverpool have their haters because of the history and just, I feel, because of the emotion that we feel with the club. There are other fan bases that don't like it or resent it. All good. At the end of the day, it is still better for the league and for everything if the title race is alive, and the title race is most certainly alive. And there's going to be a few more twists and turns. I don't know if both teams have it in them to win every point left, who's going to pick up more points, and of course, as I said earlier, what's going to happen on that showdown at the Etihad on April the 10th. Point number 3, Alisson Becker is outstanding. Now, I have to say this because, and Brian yesterday on the Reviews and Previews podcast said he had a wobble last season. Yeah, he did. But every goalkeeper, every great player has a lack of form. Now, I can tell you, as somebody who was stranded away from my family during COVID, COVID was a very, very good reason as to why you would not be feeling like yourself. Alisson Becker lost his father. He was miles and miles away from Brazil. He couldn't even get back for the funeral. That and all these other circumstances. And hey, even if that hadn't happened, Alisson Becker is allowed a dip in form. That said, I think he's underrated. I think he's underrated, both in his own time and how people see him throughout the Premier League era. In my opinion, the number 1 goalkeeper in the Premier League era is still Peter Schmeichel. Peter Schmeichel had many, many wobbles and, you know, made a lot of mistakes, got dropped a few times. I remember Raymond van der Hauw popping into goal. And, you know, it's weird how Alisson Becker doesn't get the respect he deserves. I've actually seen lists this season that people have like a Mendy or someone above him. You know what, to each their own. It's all good. I find that weird. I feel it's weird that Alisson isn't seen as the outstanding goalkeeper in this era. Gary Neville even puts him down as the outstanding era, which is kind of saying something if you've seen how that whole cookie crumbles. And it's also funny because I have a really close friend of mine, shout out Carlos, who lives in Madrid, big Atletico Madrid fan, who's also spoken to me openly about how Jan Oblak, for example, is not having a great time, hasn't had a good season, and yet people who don't even watch La Liga, so they don't want to give Alisson the flowers, they'll put Oblak on top of him. Nah, Alisson Becker is our sweeper keeper. He's our holy goalie, and what he did yesterday, twice in the same move from the Thiago back pass. First, that jockeying was classic defending. He became a defender because he can play, because he's a footballer first. And then the save as well from Odegaard. What a player, what a blessing. And Liverpool have really suffered over the years, particularly in the Premier League era. But Alisson Becker has to be as good as anything Jurgen Klopp has signed in recent years. My number 4 point is Liverpool can win in all kinds of ways. Now, look, Manchester City, I admire the way they play. It's influenced by Holland and Barcelona, Johan Cruyff, Pep Guardiola, total football, sexy football, pass and move, tiki-taka, all the good stuff. They're the best at it. They're supreme at it. They've won championships at it, doing it. But that's the only way they play. And you know what? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I do find that football beautiful. I love the Spain teams. I love the Barcelona teams. But, when you find a team that can win in other ways, that's dangerous. And Liverpool can win in so many different kinds of ways. And I really look at this through two schools of thought. Firstly, we can do what Manchester City can do, just a light version of it. There's some beautiful interchanges and play in the last few weeks alone. And we can do it in matches. Like doesn't have to be our whole tactic. And the second part of it is we can win in the way of our opposition as well. So we play like us. We can play a light version of Man City in matches, but then we can also square up against another team and play the way they play and then beat them because we've got the better players. So I don't know if this point is really spoken of enough. Like Liverpool can beat you in all kinds of ways, in so many kinds of ways. And it's something that's underrated. And if you haven't noticed it, that was a lesson that was learned last night. And finally, my point number 5 is the talent at the top of the pitch. Again, bit of a no-brainer, but to me, in the Premier League era, this is the best array of forwards at any one club at any one given time. Don't mean to disrespect Dwight York, Andy Cole, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Teddy Sheringham. Don't mean to disrespect Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, Dimitar Berbatov, and Carlos Tevez. Of course, both brilliant teams. They won so many trophies, but that was 4. If you look at who's the best top 2s, you can start to bring in Bergkamp and Henry. But then Wiltor and Kanu, no, I should have probably included them as well. But this is something on another level because it's 5, just the numbers game. I don't know if we've ever seen 5 forwards at the same club at the same time. Now, part of this is it's not always going to be this way because 3 of the original 3's contracts are up. And this is Jota and Diaz are obviously part of succession planning, which we talked about in reviews and previews yesterday. It's a huge part of making sure your club moves forward. And it was actually a big part of Liverpool's old school boot room history was to have that succession planning in place. So we aren't going to have these 5 forever. However, I think that even this might have shown Jurgen Klopp that having this many options at the front end of the pitch is amazing. And just imagine you were Gabriel and Ben White yesterday. You've had a brilliant game. You've kept Liverpool quiet. You look over to the bench and Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah are coming on. It has to be pretty dejecting. And also what's crazy about this is in the last few weeks, we've had Diaz on the left, Mane in the middle, Salah on the right, and Firmino and Jota were injured. We had this front 3, and then look who scored yesterday. It was actually Jota and Firmino who scored yesterday. That's proper depth. I feel like that's another really, really, really big thing that we didn't learn last night, but we saw it in its full potential last night. And that's with some of them not even having their best game. So imagine they are all firing and geeing each other on. It's pretty exciting. That's the 5. I'm going to wrap this up right here. Just want to say a few things. Please follow the North End, subscribe below, follow us on social media. Also my own account, it's the Cultures. Please follow me there as well. And last thing I want to say is, despite my euphoria, despite my happiness today, we've not won anything. We've not won the league. We've not won, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We have won the Carabao Cup, but there are a lot more trophies to play for. This euphoria, this happiness is about last night and just bringing that title race down. From here on, the international break happens. We play Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, which is different. It will be a bit of a different kind of challenge. International break, and then it's the final stretch. It's the final sprint. I'm here for it. In Liverpool lexicon, we go again. And yeah, very excited to bring you more of these. Peace.
This is the North End.